An army of girls and gays would kill to be where I am now, next to Piker, as he pants in a pair of neon shorts with black Calvin Klein boxers poking out.
The mainstream media is whitewashing and uplifting internet extremists again, but this time there's a kind of creepy twist. We're going to talk about GQ profiling the left-wing internet celebrity Hasan Piker and so much more on today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where we take on the craziest ideas from across our media, the internet, and our politics, all from an independent perspective. Guys, bear with me today, crashing out a little bit on the inside because I already recorded this entire episode, gave you my best, did up all my jokes, my sarcasm, everything, and then afterwards realized the mute button on this microphone was on the entire time. So I'm trying not to scream on the inside a little bit as I sit down to do this again for y'all. Take two will hopefully come out okay, but let's talk without any further ado about Hasan Piker's new profile in GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly, the pretty famous men's magazine, and it is remarkable, and not in a very good way, if I say so myself, because we have a journalist, and I say that with the biggest air quotes ever attached to it, openly thirsting for a terrorist sympathizer, Hasan Piker, and making us incredibly uncomfortable in the process. So the headline of this article is, Hasan Piker thinks America might be cooked, which, okay, whatever, fine headline. But the photo shoot they did here with Hasan is almost like a play bunny or like a Playboy photo shoot. It's him lying in a bed. It's him shirtless, soaking wet. It's him in the bathtub naked with just bubbles covering up his you know what. And like, is this normal? Because we're not talking about an actor or a model here. We're talking about a political commentator, and they're doing like these shoots with him. It's very strange stuff. But what's even more strange is that the journalist, again, biggest air quotes imaginable behind this article, from the very first paragraph, it is clear that this journalist is like in heat for Hasan the entire time. Take a listen to this clip of the internet celebrity and content creator Ethan Klein, who, disclosure, does absolutely hates Hasan. They have bad blood. But him reading the opening paragraph of this article, because I don't even want to read it myself. I'll feel icky, but it's kind of funny to hear him do it. Take a listen to that.
This is where 34-year-old political influencer keeps his thirsted after body fit. Joined by a few other neighborhood characters, Piker burns through his 70-minute workout, exhausting himself in the process. He strips his shirt off, guys. An army of girls and gays, not to mention admiring look-maxers, would kill to be where I am now, next to Piker, as he pants in a pair of neon shorts with black Calvin Klein boxers poking out and sunlight glistening off the sweat beaded on his chest hairs. Kill me.
What?
I am ready to die.
Why?
That's the intro paragraph?
Literally the opening of the article.
What is wrong with these people?
So this journalist, this guy, Kieran Press Reynolds, who I can really only assume is a gay man, is fangirling and like in heat practically over being in Hasan's presence. And it's like, how are you going to open up an article like this and then have us take your analysis seriously whatsoever after that? Because now we know that you're like extremely horny for the subject of the person that you're profiling. Like, you're not thinking with your head there, my friend, and it shows, because the profile that results is rambling and really paints a kind of rosy picture of Hasan by omitting his most controversial and horrific actions, words, and deeds and perspectives, kind of sane washing him and presenting him as if he's like a normal, acceptable mainstream American political pundit, when he's actually someone who openly calls for violence on his streams, including calling for the death of U.S. senators, and openly expresses outright support for designated terror groups. Again, those are objective facts. We've run it back. We've played the clips on this show. You can Google it and it will come up. But none of that was mentioned in this profile. Let's go over a couple specifics from this article in GQ. The author describes Piker as the himbo gateway drug, which like a bimbo, but a man, I guess, introducing a legion of progressive kids or of kids to progressive ideals like Medicare for all. Then there's this pull quote, Medicare for all, testosterone for all, Ozempic for all, HRT for all, hormone replacement therapy. That's my argument. Hasan Piker, and then it's him flexing. I found this a very interesting little passage, little excerpt that GQ cut up and put out on their social medias, because it actually does kind of encapsulate in a nutshell the difference between people like me and then people like socialist influencers like Hasan Piker, is that I generally think people should pay for their own shit. If you want to take testosterone to get ripped and bulk, or if you want to take stuff to prevent your hair loss or the other things he talks about doing in the article, call me crazy. I think you should do that yourself. You should pay for it yourself as an adult. You should generally pay your own way in life as much as possible. You are responsible for you, not all of your neighbors. Yet, Hasan seems to have the opposite attitude, that you are entitled to anything you want in terms of healthcare or even cosmetics or steroids at your neighbor's expense. It's a real difference. Like, I think the starting principle should be that you're expected to pay your own way in life, and then we have nuance and accommodation for people with disabilities or the truly impoverished for whatever reason fall short of being able to do so. Whereas he's like, yeah, just the default should be everyone gets everything they want and somebody else will pay for it. Don't ask details. Don't ask questions about how that will happen. It's supposed to be funny, but I actually think it's a revealing and insightful passage there. Also, I just think, if we're being honest, Hasan is actually pretty bad at understanding politics and culture. He's just entertaining and I think attractive, not exactly like my type. The communism doesn't do it for me, but I think he's a handsome guy. I don't deny that. And that's why he's popular. He's entertaining, he's attractive, and then he panders to certain radical ideologies. But I don't think he actually understands politics or culture very well. Let me read you this passage. He talks about Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, and other like extreme, bigoted, far-right influencers. Here's how Hasan explains their recent rise. I call it vice signaling. These guys, whether they're real villains or not, are presenting themselves as bad people, and people like it, Piker says. Nobody likes cancel culture, but goddamn, that shit was keeping mother effers in check. This is a really interesting part of the article for me, because I think it's actually the opposite of reality. Cancel culture wasn't keeping these people in check. They attempted to brutally cancel these people. Nick Fuentes in particular was banned from every social media platform and debanked, for goodness sake. He was put on the no-fly list, for goodness. And I think he's a detestable person with horrifying views, but you can't say they didn't try to cancel him. They did. And in fact, he's only become more popular because they gave him this like forbidden fruit status. Like, ooh, he's telling truths the establishment doesn't want you to hear, or that kind of, it totally failed. The attempt to cancel and censor and deplatform him had the opposite effect. Whereas I think if you just let him do his little thing in the open and then debated him, the fact that a lot of what he spews is hateful and just nonsense would have become apparent to people. Instead, they tried to cancel him and it didn't work. In the same way, the other thing is, cancel culture did not keep these people in check, and now that it's waned, they're popular. No, cancel culture, where they were literally canceling people for making hand gestures that have no nefarious meaning whatsoever, random people getting fired. There's an article in The Atlantic about just like random day laborers getting canceled because a photo of them making the OK sign. It really got out of control to the point where celebrities had to apologize for using the wrong color of hand emojis, the wrong shade of hand emojis. This was so insane. They threw around racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, blah, 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 all the time, like candy on Halloween. They watered these terms and these warnings down, and then actually hateful, bigoted people like Nick Fuentes, like Andrew Tate, who are both very openly anti-Semitic, anti-gay, and other things, they kind of flew under the radar because people were desensitized to the allegations of racism and sexism, because y'all had said it. The cancel culture crowd, the progressive crowd, had said it so many times that it wasn't true. that this actually gave rise to them. So I think Hasan gets this totally backwards, but I thought it was an interesting part of the article. One part of the article I thought was still interesting, but in this case, very poorly done. Not a lot of critical thinking going on with this journalist. Maybe he was distracted. He references Hasan as almost like this freedom fighter, resisting authoritarianism. So he writes, as political experts sound alarms about authoritarianism, he's fighting back, one expletive and brain rot-filled live stream at a time. He's, of course, talking about like Republican authoritarianism, the Trump administration, these kinds of things. And he's very much framing Hasan as like a freedom fighter in his edgy style. Yet just a few paragraphs later, he includes this gem about Hasan and doesn't seem to notice the total inconsistency here. Of course, Piker himself is an edgelord, too, eager to breach taboos just on behalf of progressivism. For example, he proposes Nuremberg-style trials for those in the media who he sees as taking part in a, quote, propaganda apparatus for the state. He says he told the Nelk boys, the context here is they did a very softball interview with Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister. He says he told the Nelk boys straight up that they should be tried. But Piker says there are far more consequential, far more noteworthy figures that deserve to be put on trial than like the effing Nelk boys. Specifically, he says New York Times columnist Bret Stephens. And this is because Bret Stephens recently wrote an article arguing that Israel's offensive in Gaza is not a genocide, a perspective that, whether you agree with it or not, is free speech. It's his opinion. And Hasan Piker thinks he should be put on trial and imprisoned for that. Yet he's also, according to this article, a freedom fighter resisting Trump. The inconsistency here, the total inability to realize that Hasan is actually also an authoritarian. Again, I think this journalist's thinking was clouded here a little bit. Just this much, maybe. And these media outlets, whether it's GQ this time around, whether it's NPR or CNN, which recently did puff pieces about Hasan as well, they don't seem to realize that he is playing them. He is using them. He is, whatever you think of him, adept in the media space. He knows what he is doing. And it's not that I think he shouldn't be spoken to. He shouldn't be interviewed. He shouldn't be profiled. I actually think he absolutely should. However, you got to do it in a critical way. You have to do it in a way where you're doing journalism, not fangirling and just horned up over him. That's really weird and unprofessional, but also obviously clouds you and makes your end product biased. And he is very explicit about the fact that he is taking advantage of these journalists and using their puff pieces to pass himself off as a mainstream part of American political discourse, even though, again, he's an open, violent extremist who calls for violence and supports designated terror groups. Take a listen to him talking about using this exact GQ puff piece and others like it to sane wash or normalize himself in mainstream political discourse.
In my opinion, the GQ article bookends really well with the NPR piece from the other day. They're both something you can point to normie libs if they have questions about Hasan, the terrorist supporting guy. Exactly. Exactly. Precisely. That is the whole point. A lot of these articles are just like terrorism insurance. Remember that. Okay? This is something you show your parents. This is something you show like insane haters and whatnot.
So like he's not being shy about it, guys. He is saying that this stuff, these GQ articles, this NPR segment, the CNN segment is great because then when like a parent sees their kid watching Hasan, it's like, wait, who is that? They can be like, oh no, he's not anything bad. Just watch this CNN segment about him. And the mom goes, oh, okay, yeah, you can keep watching him. It is very much explicit and he knows what he is doing. And he, for that, I mean, is smart, I guess. You got to give him credit. But these journalists are just discrediting the profession even more than it already has. And I say that as a recovering journalist myself, and putting their like thirstiness and I guess like lust or their ideological sympathies over any semblance of responsible journalism. And in the process, allowing a legitimate extremist to play a significant role in mainstream American politics. Other than that, though, they're doing amazing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Hit that like button while you are at it. And remember, send in your voicemail notes and your voicemails at the link in the description with your woke horror stories, your personal life scenarios you want my advice on, or any questions you guys have for me, all for my Voicemail Friday episodes. The link to send in one of those is in the description. Now, guys, we're going to talk about another big story that is all over my For You page on TikTok right now, which comes from the great state of Texas, because the Texas legislature passed a law banning phones in public schools statewide that is just kicking in as kids are going back to school. And the reception is a lot. It is all over the place. You have some people very happy with how this is working out. Then you have some people very unhappy, especially some Gen Zers posting on TikTok who are not happy about their new phoneless school experiences. First, though, details on this story here from NBC5 Dallas-Fort Worth. No phones, more focus. New Texas law bans use of phones, smartwatches in schools. A new state law prohibits the use of phones and other personal electronic devices from the first bell to the last bell in Texas public schools. As students across North Texas head back to class this week, they're also adjusting to a major new rule. Cell phones, smartwatches, earbuds, and other personal electronic devices are not allowed to be used during the school day. The new state law bans students from using personal devices at any time between the first and last bell. That includes hallways, lunch periods, and other non-instructional times. The only exceptions are for medical needs or emergencies. So already, some teachers, including this one in a mega viral video on TikTok, are reporting very positive results from this move. Take a listen to this video.
My school, my state, banned the phones. Banned the phones. Today, all of my students, 100% of them, took notes in my class, did their assignment, asked for help when they got stuck, and turned it in. And then when they were done, they talked to each other. Was it this easy the whole time? I have been pulling my hair out for like 8 years. Has it been this easy of a solution the whole time?
So I'm not shocked as somebody who went to high school when phones were coming out and people were getting Instagram and all that, but I do remember school before all of that. Yes, this makes sense. I do think there's research and evidence and just so much anecdotal confirmation of the fact that phones are distracting and they are isolating, and they do break down the kind of social stuff that used to happen in schools and classrooms. And I'm not surprised at all. This seems about like what you would expect. I don't think it will solve all the problems. I don't think it's a miracle cure for everything, but yeah, sounds about right that it would work like this. I'm not surprised, and I think we'll see that play out in more places. But some staff and teachers are like very unhappy about this. So for example, there was this TikTok that had over 400,000 likes. So this is very widespread sentiment from a principal. And she wrote over sad music, realizing we will have to print over 1,300 class schedules because students can't use their phones to see their schedules and where to go each period on the first day of school. Okay. Like, do you want a cookie? Yeah, you can print out paper schedules. I think you'll survive. Go to Staples. Actually, you probably have everything you need in your office to run off, hundreds of copies of class schedules. Is that really that insurmountable a task for a school principal? Because if it is, you should probably be replaced. And yeah, that might be a little bit of a hassle for you, but the trade-off here seems pretty worth it. Asking school administrators to print some stuff versus the mental and social and educational well-being of all their students. How is this a conversation? How is this a real principle? And how are hundreds of thousands of people thinking this is like some great point against phone bans? They're going to have to print schedules. What do you think people did for decades? I had a print schedule my class is on it. And after a couple days, you learn the order of your classes and you crumble it up and throw it away and never need it again until the next quarter or the next half when it changes. Like, it's not that deep. And yeah, do your job. I don't know. Yes, do your job. Here is another teacher from Texas explaining all the ways in which she feels inconvenienced in her job as a teacher by this new policy. Take a listen to this.
Guys, paper schedules are so easy to lose, right? So go ahead, take a picture of your... Oh, the phone ban. Okay, we're going to do this really fun activity, guys. Everyone scan the QR code with their... This is the code for AP Classroom. So if you guys don't want to do it now, if you'll just take a picture. He was holding hands with another girl in the hallway. Did you take a picture? You don't know what time you're leaving for your game today? Well, just text your coach. Necesitas traducir con su teléfono. Remember, you need a composition notebook for my class. If you're not going to remember that, go ahead and pull and text your adult in your family right now, or take a picture.
So some of these are just weird or not that consequential, and she should probably just like deal with it. Other ones, though, listen, I understand that you integrated technology as part of your educational process, and it may be difficult to adapt, but you can do it. I believe in you. Like, you can learn how to teach kids without QR codes. It was done for a very long time. And I think, again, the trade-offs here are worth it. Like, you're going to be okay. And yeah, I think there's some truth to some of like the fact that technology has been baked into some of this stuff. But it's not impossible to do school without every kid having an iPhone in front of them. It's simply not. And if you can't do it, then that's a reflection of your educational skills more than it is the state of modern technology. Sorry, not sorry. Also, like, some of this is just, use the opportunity to teach these kids personal responsibilities. Here is your paper schedule. Don't lose it. If you do lose it, you'll have to go to the library and print out a new one, or go to the office and print out a new one. And they're not going to want to keep doing that over and over again. Oh, you don't know what time you have to leave for your game later? Ask a teammate. Like, the problem solving skills here that should be already baseline but clearly aren't. Just teach kids how to solve basic problems. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you should be able to address these basic issues without an iPhone. And if you can't, there are bigger problems. Now, what I was certainly expecting was that students themselves would not be very happy about this kind of a change. That seems understandable. I think in the long run, they might actually acknowledge, give them 6 or 12 months. Oh, wait, it was better this way. But of course, they're not going to be thrilled about this. Young people are addicted to their phones. And so some of them are speaking out, and their TikToks are going mega viral. Students who are very unhappy about this. I am going to blur their faces in the video because they are minors, and I want to keep their identities private, and I won't include any identifying information. But here's a video entitled "FU Texas," and then it links to a petition to unban phones. This has almost 70,000 likes and hundreds of thousands of views from one young woman who is not happy about this change. Let's listen to her video.
This one is for all my bitches that are attending school in Texas right now. Today was my first day and I'm pissed. I'm livid. First of all, the phone thing. We are not allowed to have our phones in class, which is okay, whatever, in the hallways or at lunch. We're not allowed to have our phones at all. And if they hear them buzz in our backpacks, they'll take them away. And now, since I can't have my phone in the hallway, I don't know what time it is, and I don't know when I have to get to class. Also, since it was my first day, was trying to figure out my schedule. So I was having to hide my phone in the hallway to figure out my schedule because I'm not going to carry my blocky ass iPad around. They told us on the announcements that they wanted us to carry our iPads around the hallway to check the time and our schedules. This is not necessary. All of this is not necessary. Because you know what's really crazy about the whole phone thing? The kids that don't want to focus in class because they're on their phones, are not going to focus in class because they don't have their phones. Most of them are just going to say a big f you to everyone else and just not pay attention. Grown people need to stop acting like they understand what teenagers are like these days, because they don't at all. They literally don't know how they work, and it's so clear.
Anybody else getting flashbacks? Ugh, adults just don't understand what it's like to be a teenager these days. Yeah, they don't get it. We're different now. Yeah, we all felt that way once upon a time, love. A couple things. And again, guys, be nice to this girl. I'm not trying to dunk on this girl. I just think it is useful to talk about how they're reacting. We're going to introduce her to a couple new concepts today. One of them is called a watch. It's this thing you can get pretty cheap, plastic watch, that just tells you what time it is. We're also going to introduce you to the concept of printing out a schedule, and then you'll know where you need to go. And then as far as things like lunch are concerned, yes, it's actually good. We want you to talk to your other classmates and your friends and speak with them instead of sitting in a circle looking all down at your phones in different Instagram memes and TikToks and then laughing at them. Like, yeah, that's the point. Good. You might try it. You might like it. And all of these videos, it is remarkable because they don't seem to be realizing the extent to which they are proving the point. They are proving how addicted they are. And I'm not throwing shade at them. I'm addicted too. I really am. This is just a facet of modern life. But like, the more they crash out over not having their phones like this, the more obvious it is that they need to not have their phones. Like, this next one is this dude saying he's going to just fight people because he doesn't have his phone. Take a listen to this.
I went to school today, and I thought they was joking about that no phone shit. Bitch, we ain't had no phone all motherfucking day long. From when we walked in that motherfucker to when we left that motherfucker. Whoever made that a motherfucking law, I'm screaming fuck you and your mama. I hate to announce it to you, Woo, but you just made a bigger issue. Cause now I'm just tempted to fight all the motherfucking time. I got nothing but time, patience, energy. Like, I need that from any bitch. Look at me crazy. I don't got no phone. I don't got no distractions, ho. I'm on that with you. What you want to do, bitch? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, girl, what? You thought taking my phone away was gonna make me, like, calm down or something? Boo, you finna turn me the up now, for real. I don't got no distractions, bitch. I'm on that with any bitch.
My friend, if your point was to convince us to give you back your phone, it did not hit the way you hoped. It did not hit the way you hoped. Because if you ask me, it's pretty clear this young man needs to spend more time in a classroom, less time on the internet, more time learning, and clearly is very addicted to the cell phone and the other social media feeds if you are this emotionally unstable about it all. And I also do not buy, even for a second, the argument that, well, kids who don't want to pay attention won't pay attention anyway, so just let us all have our phones. They're distracting for people who do want to pay attention. We all experience it every day. I get distracted by my phone and when I'm trying to do my work and edit and bring you this podcast. And that's why half the time I'll put it in the other room or I'll turn it off entirely when I need to focus on something. But it is not just, oh, well, it's not going to have any impact. It has a big impact, and we're already seeing that. The other big point that people keep raising is this idea that, like, well, if kids don't have their phones, they won't be able to respond to emergencies. And what about when there's school shootings and all this kind of stuff? So here's one Texas woman, this is an adult, explaining why she objects to this new policy. Take a listen to this.
Never crashed out on this app, but here it goes. Texas State has passed a law that beginning on August 4th for this next school year, our children will not be able to have their phones on them or on during the school day. While I understand that it's a cause for distraction, I also understand the statistics and what keeps happening in America to these schools. So what I'm sitting here thinking is, if you don't send your child to school, you get in trouble for truancy. If you don't send your child to school, that's breaking the law. If you do send your child to school, you are not allowed to have communication with them throughout the day to know if somebody opens fire while they're in the restroom, to know if a group of kids jumped them, to know if they were denied their lunch for the day, to know if their stomach hurts, to know if they bled through their pad. There's no way.
So it was interesting to me that this person says, I understand the statistics about what is happening in schools in America. Clearly you don't, if you actually think that school shootings of the type of Uvalde or Parkland are some kind of regular occurrence. They are not. I know that, and I don't even blame you, because like CNN and mainstream media, they repeat these headlines based on these concocted statistics that they count everything as a school shooting. They count a gun going off by accident in the parking lot and no one gets hurt as a school shooting. They count a student involved in a gang shooting another student, one student shooting another, as a school shooting. And then they'll give you a headline, 500 school shootings in 100 days so far in 2025 or whatever. But it's not talking about like school shootings in the sense of what people think of when they hear that word. Not to say they aren't significant events, but the data are manipulated in a very misleading way there. And regardless, it's still so incredibly statistically rare. As horrible as this stuff undoubtedly is, it's not a common occurrence in America. So to say that, well, we just can't adapt common sense policies that are better for students' mental, social, educational well-being because of these tiny percent chance that something terrible might happen it's just not realistic, especially because even in the case of something terrible like that happening, there's going to be phones in every classroom, in the offices. The police will get called and notified. And it's not like, oh, if the students don't have phones on them, they won't be able to alert the authorities. I don't really think that's accurate. Also, the policies have exceptions for emergencies. So if they take the phone out of the bag and turn it on during a lockdown, I don't think they're going to get in trouble for that. Same with the other situations this person described. Like, well, what if they have this stomach aches or they have a period or something like that? Like, well, they'll go to the nurse. The nurse will call the parent. This is how school always worked. You can still, it's not as if without cell phones, it becomes a black hole where parents cannot get in touch with their child in any way. That's not how it was when we were kids. It's simply not. And like this idea that, oh, well, we have to be in constant communication with our children all the time. I don't want to judge parents because I haven't been there. I haven't had a child. I don't know what it's like. But some of y'all seem really to struggle with the idea of detaching at all, of letting your kids figure out anything on your own. You don't need a play-by-play of every single thing going on throughout their day. They don't need to text you about every little problem or hiccup they have. And if some real stuff or a big issue actually comes up, the school can and will get in touch with you. I promise y'all, it's going to be okay. It's probably going to be for the better. But the online crash outs are continuing, and I don't know that they'll stop quite anytime soon. But hopefully in the long run, even these people will realize that this is in kids' best interest. What do you guys think, especially if you're based in Texas or another state where they're doing this? I want to hear from you. I want to know what your experience has been like. Let me know in the comments or send me a voicemail to respond to on our Friday episodes. And hit that like button. Make sure subscribed if you aren't yet. Yada, yada, yada. And that'll be it, guys, for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. We'll talk again real soon.